Hello everybody, Cal here. Today, actually before I say anything, I want to do a huge thank you not only to everybody who has been leaving comments and like reaching out to talk to me, because that gives me so much like joy to be able to connect with you guys and have conversations. You know, I learn from you, and hopefully you learn from me as well. People have been reaching out to me in game as well, adding me as friends and talking to me, and it means so much to me when you guys take the effort to connect. And so I just want to do a big thank you for all of those viewers who have done that, because I really appreciate it. With all the stuff I have going on in my life, it's just really neat and exciting for me, and I always respond to comments. I mean, the channel's really small right now anyway, so it's not too hard to do. But every time I get that little notification on Google, it like brightens my day. And also, I wanted to welcome the new subscribers. I feel like it might have been a few videos since I did this. So if you're a new subscriber and I haven't welcomed you yet, welcome to the channel. I hope you're enjoying the content and that I can continue to make good quality content for you. And I'm excited to continue this journey. I did get 170. I did get some gold at the end of season, so tomorrow's video is probably going to be a rather lengthy one, assuming I don't suck, because I'm going to try doing a gauntlet. I'm not very good at gauntlet. Actually, will gauntlet even be up tomorrow? Yeah, I think. Oh, okay. I'll have to do a gauntlet the day after, because it's still another whole day. But I'll do a gauntlet rather soon. I'm not going to spend the gold until that's up. But yeah. So now this series, the Don't Fear series, originally was meant for Mechazor, because I had a lot of people, mostly in-game, telling me that Mechazor seemed really crazy. Even I, when I first started, thought Mechazor was really BS. In the support section, people complain on Mechazor. So I originally started this series to help give people advice and more confidence when facing Mechazor, and then I realized, why not broaden the series to give people confidence and encouragement when facing any difficulty. And so today is going to be early game bullying, and this does not mean obviously somebody who uses emotes to try to get in your head, or somebody who sends you a friend request, since whoever you're fighting currently will be your last played, so you can send a friend request in game or during the match and say things to you. By bullying, I mean when you completely lose control of the early game and it seems hopeless. A lot of people I've seen will concede against me if the early game really sucks. And if my early game really sucks, I get really demoralized. But unless you're running like an aggro deck, if your early game is horrible, you can still pull it out if your deck's designed that way. So today I'm going to jump into a replay of a game where I was bullied intensely for early game and the early mid game, and I'm going to show you how I handled that and give you some advice, and I'll see you in the replay. Why did I say that twice? Here we go. So we're in the replay. It says silver, but that's because the season reset, so now it's showing us in whatever division we are now in, but this match obviously was in diamond. Now, I'm fighting against Vanar, which is a huge bully, as you guys know, because they play lots of minions, they have Hellstone Prism, they have Chromatic Cold, they can easily deal with what you throw down. So at least in my experience, they're like the #1 bully class. Now, my opening here also isn't great. I have my Blood Moon Priestess before I really need her. I have the Keeper, but nothing to ramp into. A Rejuvenator, but I'm not fighting Songhai. Not the best hand. She does have Blood Tier Alchemist, which is really unfortunate. It's a card that I've been seeing Vanar use a bit lately, but I'm not going to get into that. That's not the point of this video. So not only was she able to counter my turn 1 play, completely shutting down any board control or any board presence that I could have, but she's able to also kill my mini Jaxi. So now once again I have a clean slate. I go ahead and I mulligan. I believe I throw the Keeper back. But let's start getting into advice. So in the early game, when you're getting shut down, the #1 thing you need to do is try to control their minions as well. Some people will get nervous and they'll start falling back, to try and draw something big and threatening to hopefully scare their opponent. That is not what you want to do. You want to use your general and any spells or small minions you have to try and keep throwing stuff on the board to help you gain a board presence. And you want to use the 2 attack that your general has and artifacts if you have them to start trying to cut down their board so that it's easier for you to make a comeback if you start to draw well or if they start to draw bad or make a bad decision. Basically, if you're on the defense, the key thing you need is, what's the word I'm thinking of? Efficiency. You want to make sure that you're using as little cards as possible to deal with as many cards of theirs. And so that's why I played the Bloodmoon Priestess here, was just to start getting Wraithlings on the battlefield to hopefully start dealing with her minions. And while it looks like I got shut down, the Bloodmoon Priestess is still gonna 3-for-1, basically, because I got to kill a minion, I got a Wraithling out of it, she had to use a Hellstone Prism to kill the Bloodmoon Priestess, and now she has to use her Alchemist to kill the Wraithling, and the Wraithling will kill the Alchemist. So I guess it's technically a 2-for-1, since I killed the minion with my general. But anything you kill with your general, as long as your health isn't super low, is basically free. Because, you know, you're not losing as long as you have health. That's all that matters. So now my goal here, since her minions aren't very scary, is to get a good board presence. Now I'm going to go ahead and pause here. So now what's really key is positioning as well when you've been bullied early game. You want to make sure that you position your minions in such a way that they're going to help you hold the board and retain presence. So, like I said, in order to get back, you need efficiency. All your minions need to be doing something. Not only do these minions heal me when they enter the battlefield, but by putting my Rejuvenator on the left side of me, the only things that can hit my Rejuvenator this turn are the General and the Jaxi, and those 2 things can't kill the Rejuvenator. Whereas, if I had the Rejuvenator over here, the General plus the Hearth Sister could kill the Rejuvenator. So her Hearth Sister's only option is either to grab this Mana Crystal, which is fine, since she only has 3 cards in hand. We have 6, we have more answers. But if she wants to kill my Mystic, she has to use this, because there's no point in her hitting it with her face and using the Hearth Sister. And this trade, so not only did I gain 2 health, but this Mystic will also take a minion out with it. Also, usually if you're on the defense against somebody who's bullying you early game, they're spending a lot of cards. So that's why efficiency is important, and you want to play as little cards as possible for the biggest effect, is because if your opponent's hand starts to shrink compared to yours, even though in this instance Hellstone Prism basically just kills my minions, it forces them to... what am I trying to say? You want them to keep playing out their hand, because as long as you're efficient, you'll have hand advantage over them. You will have more possible answers to the lower possible threats that they can throw at you. And eventually, by being efficient, you will overcome them, and then they will be forced to go onto the defensive because of your decision making. I'll continue this, and you'll start to see what I'm talking about. So again, like I said here, I'm forcing her to deal with what's on the board in an inefficient manner. Since my Rejuvenator is on the left side of me, and she can't kill it with what she has with the 2 things that can reach it, she's forced to either ignore it, hit it with her general, and then hope to finish it off next turn, or use a spell. And that's the only options she has available to kill this Rejuvenator. And so she's going to end up using a Hellstone Prism here, which is what we wanted, because Hellstone Prism is basically a removal spell of any minion, and a Rejuvenator isn't really that big a deal. It already got its value, it already healed me for 4 health, and if it also forces her to use a spell, it's one against limiting her answers, because we've already seen a Hellstone Prism from her already, which means the chances of her having her last one is very unlikely. But that's the whole thing. I'm sorry, I'm like repeating myself, because she does start taking a long time to take her turns. Which is another thing I wanted to say. So here, that's right, she just starts playing minions. She does do the trade, like I said. Now, this is a threat, so like I'm still not out of the woods here. You know, it's like, yeah, sure, she was able to remove all my minions, and I forced her to do a lot of things she probably didn't want to do. But you see, I'm still not in a great place. She now has a 5/5 that, while it can't attack me, can pretty much remove anything I play. And she has a 3. She basically has 2 3/3s on the battlefield, and our health is pretty close. So I'm still definitely in a worse situation. So what you want to do when you're in a situation like this is to really look at your hand. Also, if you've been bullied and you need to play defensively, you want to make sure that every turn you're replacing cards with this mechanic to try and give you more possible answers to what's on the battlefield. So I was looking in my hand, and I realized that the only efficient way I have to deal with this 5/5 ranged mini Jaxi is ritual banishing. And because of that, I basically decided that it takes me a while to make the decision. And I basically decided that my best bet is to play the Vorpal Reaver behind me, so that she's forced to either hit it with the Jaxi and hit it with her face, or she's forced to just kind of surround it with minions and lock it up. But I'm not playing it necessarily because I think the 6/6 body is going to win me the game. I'm playing it because I need it to pop so that I can use Ritual Banishing on one of the Wraithlings to kill this 5/5 mini Jaxi, and then it opens up all my other options that I can start playing minions against safely. So at this point, I'm still not out of the woods, and that's something you need to know. Like, no matter how long the bullying goes on for, you're going to be behind, and you can't let that discourage you. Don't just concede when you're like, I don't know how I could possibly come back. As you can already see here, she's down to 2 cards in hand. She's only able to respond with whatever she draws at this point, and then she can replace 1 card, of course. That's what you want. You want to just keep playing high value plays and force your opponent to deal with them in inefficient ways. This 5/5 cannot kill this Vorpal Reaver. So while yes, it did 5 damage to it, it's still inefficient for her. Now these 2 Fenrir War Masters are the reason why I haven't been able to completely come back here, because she basically has 4 minions on the battlefield plus the Jaxi. Now no matter what this turn, I need to deal with what she has on the board, and I need to kill the Vorpal Reaver so that I can kill something. Now the reason why I assassinated this instead of attacking this 3/3 and then assassinating the 3/3 was just because of her having the flexibility of a ranged minion, being able to pick off my Wraithlings no matter where they are. Also, I chose the Wraithling behind her to sacrifice, because this Wraithling being behind her doesn't really do much. I'm still basically playing defensively, so I want to keep my minions around me so that I can have more defenses around me. This is the thing, it's efficiency. I played a very efficient minion. It's a 6/6 that gives me 6 more minions, and while they're only 1/1s, she still has to respond to them. They're still going to do damage, they're going to weaken minions, and they're going to force her to make plays that maybe aren't great. So now we have her on the back foot, because since we were taking the time to think about what we were doing and to respond to her without just dumping our hand and just, really thinking hard. We were able to get to a point now where we are consistently holding a bigger hand than her. Now here I wanted to go ahead and play the Rejuvenator. I think it possibly would have been a better idea if I had used Breath of the Unborn that turn, because I could have killed 2 of her minions, possibly even this one. But that's also something. You'll always see mistakes when you watch replays, and that's great. Watching replays is another good way to help you improve your skill and improve your game and start to recognize what you're doing wrong and how to do it better. All the way into S rank, people make mistakes. You'll watch a replay and you'll go, okay. Even wins. Even if you watch a replay where you got a victory, like this one, you're going to see mistakes. But again, see, now she's forced to pull back, because even though she has the minion advantage still, she can't efficiently deal with what I have on the board. If she wants to kill this Rejuvenator, she has to use 2 minions, because by being aggressive early game and bullying me, she's now down to 0 cards in hand. So yeah, she has 9 mana every turn, but if she just keeps dumping 2 cards every turn, she's not being efficient. and she's going to start handing the game back over to me. And again, like inefficiency. It's not that she doesn't know I have this in my hand, but now this card gets even more efficient because not only can I say hit her Rejuvenator and then cast Breath of the Unborn and kill 2 minions and restore 3 health to my Rejuvenator, but I can then also cast a Reaper of the Nine Moons. And now it's getting to that point where, like I said, don't be afraid to use your health. I mean, depending on the matchup, sure, if you're fighting Songhai or you're fighting like a face Magmar deck, you might have to make a hard decision and not use your general as much. Maybe stand your general somewhere that blocks their minions, not necessarily hit their minions. But if you've been bullied so hard in the early game, you have to take risks to come back, and that's the next thing you got to know. Take risks. Now here, I see her retreating, and my deck is mainly based around my minions and not me. And mainly at this point, I was just nervous that something might happen, so I decided I'd rather threaten her and not put myself in unnecessary danger, such as having her spawn minions around me and get some kind of crazy combo or something like that. So now you see what's happened. By making careful decisions early game and making sure that we use our minions as efficiently as possible, and I'm going to say efficiently a lot because that is the key to coming back from early game bullying, is you have to be efficient. Use as little cards as possible to deal with as many enemies as possible. And as you see, she's been forced to use a lot of spells that she doesn't want to use on my things, and then she concedes. If you're playing an aggro deck, this is harder to pull off because you don't really have huge threats that you can just drop. But if you're playing an aggro deck, you still want to be efficient. Maybe sometimes it means you're using some of your combo pieces, such as say your Songhai, to kill minions, using your like backstab mask to kill things without it taking damage. If you're playing Agromar, maybe you're forced to run rush minions into her minions, but you want to do that only in emergencies, since I know for you aggro players that's kind of your win condition, is those rush minions. But that's it. Like, if you're getting bullied early game, don't lose heart, don't lose morale, don't just concede. Like, stick it out, because you never know what'll happen. If your opponent makes mistakes, any mistakes, you can steal the game back. Our opponent made the mistake of going too all in. She just kept throwing minions down, and that is what Vanar does. She's like an aggressive zoo deck with some control spells such as Hellstone Prism and Chromatic Hold. And by vomiting minions on the battlefield, while it was giving her an early game advantage, by having the ability to respond and then drop big threats, it caused her to lose the game. When she couldn't deal with what we were putting down, because she had been dropping her whole hand every turn and limiting her own responses. If she hadn't used Hellstone Prism on the Rejuvenator, for instance, she could have used it later on and played something bigger. The Rejuvenator wasn't that big of a threat. All she had to do was walk back and let the Rejuvenator get in a bad position and then kill it with something else. That's the thing too. While you might say, oh, but if my opponent doesn't make a mistake, don't I just lose then? But that's the thing, like, this was a Diamond League match. By getting bullied in the early game, a lot of times your opponents will get overconfident and they're going to start trying to rush you down because they see how much advantage they have over you, and that is going to cause them to lose because they're going to make inefficient plays. So if this happens to you guys, if your early to early mid game is just downhill, downhill, downhill and getting bullied and pushed around, just stick it out. Try to play efficiently, remove their minions whenever possible, kill as many minions of theirs every turn that you can, and then drop as many threats as you can until they can't deal with it, and then take them out. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. If it was, let me know. If it wasn't, and there's something and you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I will definitely respond to you as fast as possible. I'll see you guys in the next video.